Good morning and good afternoon. I know we're at the end of January, but for those of you that I've not spoken with, Happy New Year. I appreciate each and every single one of you taking a few minutes out of your day. For those of you, I will say, we have received so much positive feedback. We've broken some of our personal records with today's webinar. We've got, I believe, 315 or just under 320 RSVPs between Zoom as well as that of LinkedIn. And want to thank each and every single one of you. So those of you that will be watching live as well as on demand. And a couple of quick things while we're having, let's see, just a couple of quick things to take into consideration in terms of housekeeping. I'll be brief about this. I'm going to do the best that I can today. Just so you know, we have 6 live demos in addition to the prepared remarks that I'll be sharing. I'm going to get through as much as I can over these next 60 minutes. We'd like for today to be as interactive as possible. For those of you that have been here before, you'll know that I'll have a few anonymous poll questions. Also in the chat, let's have fun today, right? Let's make this interactive. This is not about us. We've worked our tails off for today, and we're doing that for each and every single one of you. What would be incredibly appreciative is let's keep this conversation going. So keep in mind in the chat, if you state to host and panelist, I will do the best I can to not reference you by name. However, if you do state if you do state to everyone, then that means everyone will be able to see your name. So I'm not going to. So I guess with that said, for those of you that if you'd like to introduce yourselves and where you're from and the name of your security company, feel free to do that in the chat. Before we get started, before I start sharing my screen, we received a number of questions and a number of comments. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm going to read a few of them. And some of the questions we are going to be covering live today, and some of these we'll be answering thereafter. So it's like, what is really AI and how can be related to that of the alarm industry? Is AI the same as automation? And can I use automation in my company, having in mind that we're a small / medium company? What automation is good for administrative tasks? Next question is, what AI programs do security companies or are security companies using? I'm a senior, so I don't know a lot about AI, and I'm hoping to learn things like what is it and how can it help that of my security business? Are there any free AI programs I can use for my security company? Which ones and how can I use them? Also, there are tons of products, and I agree, and integration work in the market that has recently hit the street. How will your integration separate itself from the pack? And I'm just going to share a couple of quick comments. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be answering a lot of these during the sessions. Keep in mind, I'm sure that each and every single one of you have questions. So in the chat, as well as within that of the Q&A, if you can load those up. And as I mentioned, we're going to do the best we can. We are just over 100 live attendees here, and I think that we're just a couple minutes in. So let me keep going with this really quick. So a couple of the other comments were, please cover the AI software used, the pros and cons, different AI tools for any additional cost of software, and potential copyright questions regarding the use of AI generated content. I'd like to learn more about AI marketing in the security industry as I'm in Sydney, Australia. Thank you. I appreciate everything you share with us, and I'm especially excited about this topic and love hearing about what other people are doing to incorporate AI into their lives. Looking forward to this webinar. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this webinar. We're not using AI presently in our marketing strategy at all. Our current biggest challenge is finding competent and reliable technicians to keep up with sales. So marketing our company is as a great place to work might be a start. 100%. By the way, for marketing is not just to recruit new customers. Marketing, in fact, is here to help recruit new members of your team, but we'll discuss that at a later webinar in much more depth. And then just last but not least, I signed up for the webinar to just learn more about AI and ChatGPT and how it can be used in a marketing role. So anything else that falls under that is good with me. I just want to share once again, thank you. And that's a really bad, I know I'm wearing the Valentine's color here, and I know we're a couple of weeks away from that, but I figured I'd get in the festive mood. And I would love for each and every single one of you to be my Valentine. And thank you so much for spending time. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. And if we can just have someone in the chat, just let me know that you can see my screen that has the slides, because I've got a lot of things from my live demo on my other screen. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. And yes, awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that there are a number of individuals that shared things in the chat. I'm going to get to that in just a moment, but let's go ahead and get started. Before we share a little bit about ourselves, I do want to say this. And actually, I'm going to reshare my screen here in just a sec. So hopefully I do this correctly. Today's session, I realize that we're at the beginning of the year of 2025. And this may be the first webinar that you've attended, but I'm telling you what, this is one of the most, if not the most important webinar you will attend this year. And I say that, I say that because when we talk about AI is specifically a means, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail, but AI is meant to help automate repetitive tasks. We get asked all the time, Dave, how is AI impacting your business? With the chat GPTs of the world. And I'll tell you what, AI, in terms of these next few years, we'll see as to what tomorrow brings 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. But in terms of these next few years, AI can give us all superpowers and can really help us. And I will say this, there has never been a time more like today, right? January 28th, 2025, where it is more important for each and every single one of us to position ourselves as the expert in what we do. And absolutely, can the tools we're going to be talking about today help us to allow us to do more with less, to be able to provide us with these superpowers and these capes? 100%. But I won't say a good friend of mine, but someone that I respect said the old adage of, a fool with a tool is still a fool. And my point being here, and I don't mean any deal of respect to anyone here, of course. Those of you that know me know I don't have one of those bones in my body. But my point being here is, in everything that we do, we've got to strive to be the best and leverage these tools for help. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And for those of you in the chat, please keep it coming, keep your questions coming. And if you can just re-verify that you can see my screen in terms of what we do. I'm going to breeze through these because today is not about us. And if someone can just in the chat, and yes, perfect, awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, Eric. And for everyone else that's engaging in the chat. Okay, in terms of us, we're a marketing agency. We are proud members of many of the industry's biggest associations. Clearly, that list needs to grow. If anyone is interested in learning about how we can help you market your security business, whether you are a guard company, you're an alarm dealer, you're a systems integrator working with a medium to large commercial end users, or you're a vendor in the space, we work with all of you. We'd love to place you right in the middle of success. And that's enough about that, because that's not what today's all about. If we are not connected on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm very blessed and very fortunate to have spoken at many of the industry's biggest events. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. But what I will say here is I've been very blessed and very fortunate. I'm going to quickly move on. Speaking a couple of weeks from now, for those of you that are members of the Integration Association of Florida, I would love, for those of you that'll be live there in person, I would love to be able to spend some time with you and talk about your business. And it honestly doesn't even just have to be about marketing. It can be about the industry trends. Keep in mind, we're a repository in terms of knowing what is working. All of our customers, we know what's working, what's not working. And by the way, that goes beyond marketing. So for those of you that are going to be at the IAF, and by the way, ISC West is coming up here as well. So we will have our booth there. Look forward to seeing you in Vegas, because I think most of you will be in Vegas. So if you'd like to schedule a meeting with me, please use that QR code, and I'm going to keep moving on. Now, I will say this. Today would not be possible without the fellow members of my team that are really helping to put this together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In addition to that, this would not be possible without the sponsorship of Alula. Alula, thank you so much. And I will say this. When it comes to, I'm going to ask a silly question in the chat, and I think everyone should be saying me. And when I say me, type in the chat. And by the way, feel free to use the host and panelist if you don't want everyone to know. Those of us here that install security systems in one way, shape, or form, type Alula in the chat, please. And while you're typing Alula in the chat, what I will say here is Alula is all about your success, right? Their mission is your success. And that comes into place in terms of their simplified operations, the cost effectiveness of the solutions, the hardware and the services that they provide. as well as the technology that they're constantly looking to evolve and to invest in their R&D to help make it future ready for not just for today in 2025, but in 2026, 2027 and beyond. Here's Dan Wagner, general manager at Atlantic Security, shared Connect Plus has literally changed our game as we go out in the market. It is the single most innovative product I've ever seen in the last 30 years, and I've been in the security industry. And keep in mind, there are many, many, many others like that of Dan that are sharing this. I will say this, for those of us that install security systems in residential SMB markets, please scan this QR code and let Alula know that we sent you. I would greatly appreciate that. And once again, Alula, thank you so much for that of your sponsorship and for the relationship that we've had over the years. And I'm not going to go through the chat yet, but I do see a big number here in terms of those that are probably saying Alula. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate that. In terms of keeping interactive, really quickly, because I only have 3 questions because we've got a lot of these, as I mentioned, live demo interactive tools from the AI perspective that we're going to be going through. Keep in mind, with that of your phone, scan the QR code. There's 3 quick questions we're going to go through, and I'd like for us to all be honest with ourselves. It's like, how are we using AI in our security business? Is it not at all? Is we've experimented a little, we're actively using AI in some processes, or we have advanced AI integrations in place? So if you all, and I will also answer this as well, I'd really, really appreciate each of you. And I say this because keep in mind, no one, including myself, we do not know what you're answering. But when you answer this honestly, number 1. Number 2, see as to how you compare versus others. Keep in mind, as I mentioned a little earlier, we don't just have security companies from here in the US, we have companies from all over the world that are watching this live and that will be watching this on demand. And your insights are really helpful in terms of things at all. So we're going to give this just another 3, 4, 5 seconds while we're giving everyone just an opportunity to answer this. So we're going to say 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll give it another half second. Okay, perfect. Thank you all. Okay, so next question is, and if you're gonna see this automatically change, stay on your phone for these next 2 questions, just so we can answer this really quickly. Which area would you most like AI to improve in your company? Is it generating new leads, creating marketing content, streamlining administrative tasks, enhancing customer support? And not sure yet. And I'll tell you what, frankly, there should be in all of the above, but I purposely did not include that because that would be, I'm not going to say cheating, but clearly it's all the above. But like, what's most important to you? And this is actually really helpful, by the way, the answers to these questions, because this is going to allow me to make sure that I can spend a little more time on these things here in terms of. So we're going to give this just another 5 seconds and we'll move on to the final question. All right, 4, 3, and this is interesting. Once again, I can see for us, it's all of the above, except for the not sure yet. Well, actually, I should say not sure yet, because there's a lot of use case applications that I'm not aware of. So this is actually great. Obviously, generating lean, streamline. Okay, so all right, we're going to move on to the final question here. What's your biggest barrier to adopting AI right now today in the beginning of 2025? Is it budget? Is it resistance from the team, lack of knowledge and training? Is it unclear ROI, or is it there's no immediate need? Now, by the way, hint, no one should be clicking no immediate need. All right, I'm not trying to influence anyone here. So we'll give this just another 5, 10 seconds and we'll move on from here. So what's your biggest barrier to adopting AI right now? And we'll give this just another moment, and then we will move on. So yeah, it is clear that lack of knowledge and training. And look, once again, for today, while we're giving this another 5 seconds or so, my goal is for you to take away, even if it's just one takeaway. Number 1, I want you to be thinking differently. Number 1. Number 2, if you can have just 1 or 2 takeaways, I'm telling you, and I know my team laughs at me all the time when I say this, but tiny hinges, as I'm looking at my door, tiny hinges swing big doors. All right, let's move on to that of what we're going to be covering. So we've got a lot of great information, why AI matters today. We're going to be talking about just a handful of the top AI tools. As I'd mentioned, we have not 2 or 3, but we have 6 live demos that are going to be walking through. I'm going to try and zip through slides ASAP to help set the stage, but we've got several demos that are going to be sales, marketing, as well as ops related. So that's why I'm saying I really appreciate everyone's feedback on the questions. We're going to be talking about working smarter with AI. We're going to be talking about the implementation roadmap. And then as we wrap up, by the way, please stay till the end, and I'm going to do my best to stay on time. But we have a free AI tools workbook that you'll have an instant download that you do not need to fill in your information for. Today's session obviously is being recorded, but we're only going to be able to cover a handful of tools with a little bit of depth. But we have a 12 or 13, 14-page workbook that goes through dozens of tools and talks a little bit about step by step with each of them and how to utilize them and things in that regard. And that's our gift to you. So once again, thank you very much. All right, so in terms of like market dynamics, right? In terms of the security market today in 2025, there is growing competition. And keep in mind, I want to focus on that of our end user customers. And for that of us that are on the vendor side, because we've got many vendors that are with us as well, our customers, in terms of whom all of our customers are becoming a lot more tech savvy. And I know it's hard to see me. I'm holding my phone up here. This has changed everything because we've got access to the world in the palm of our hands. And keep in mind, remember, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times per day, we are coming across ads. We're being bombarded by businesses that are vying for our business and that are putting their ads in front of us. And the key here is, how do we do more with less? In terms of some of the traditional tactics, they're falling short. And why? Because there's, like being able to do things like, look, I cannot, in certain regards, in most regards, probably in all regards, I cannot compete with AR with computers and things in that regard. They're a lot more efficient, a lot more effective than me. Now, obviously, the dream team is mirroring us together, of course. But in terms of doing everything the old school manual way, whether it's less personalization or slower lead gen, it puts us at a deficit. In terms of the rise of AI, AI can really help us to be that of a competitive differentiator. And I want to focus just for a moment here on that of what AI is here to help with. It is all a matter of automating, and with the questions and comments, there was a couple of questions that were discussing this. AI is not meant to do from A to Z and just let's click a button and boom, here you go. It is meant to automate certain elements of our task or of that tree or that assembly line in terms of things that we're working with to basically be able to make sure that we are in good shape and automate some of those things. And specifically with that of data-driven insights, it can really help to take things to that of the next level. In terms of buyer expectations, keep in mind the buyer is demanding instant answers in personalized offers. Because keep in mind, what is important to that of an auto dealership versus that of like a healthcare facility versus that of a logistics facility versus that of a general contractor, even if the solutions that are being deployed are the same, we need to be speaking to each of these markets almost as if we're having that one-on-one conversation in terms of personalized, not just with the offer. The other thing is we have to be available 24/7. A good friend of mine says, Dave, because I reached out after hours a couple of years back, he's like, Dave, don't worry about it. We're the alarm industry, my friend. We're 24/7. Keep in mind, our customers are expecting for that as well. I'd like for you to look and imagine, like, look at AI as that of your 24/7, call it digital/virtual guard for marketing. You take into consideration that of this camera here. And like that of this security camera, right? The cameras never sleep. AI keeps a constant watch over what it is, can keep a constant watch over that of your marketing. And of course, with a lot of those a lot of those repetitive tasks, AI can be programmed to be able to help manage those. There can be flags or alerts so that you can be notified when there are KPI or certain key performance indicators that are hit or certain things that are achieving here. In terms of why it matters now, it is so important, and I almost don't even want to say early adopting, because frankly, I'll tell you what, I know that we reference the like our age versus like, and we talk about like dog years or like dogs. Gosh, I should probably know this. All right, I'm butchering this. Pardon my silly analogy here, but my point being here is AI years are like dog years exponential, if that makes sense. But here's the key. We need to make sure that we are establishing in our respective roles, because remember, some of us deal with resi end users, some of us are with SMB, some of us were with the commercial exclusively, maybe we work with particular vertical markets, maybe we're working with out of the channel. And it's so important in our respective roles with the groups that we work with, we need to build our authority into who our customers know, like, and trust. I purposely repeat myself with that because I want to embed that in each and every single one of us. Know, like, and trust is so important because remember, most prospects are out of market. They're not actively searching for what we're doing. And the key here is when they matriculate from out of market to in market, who are they going to go to? Who they know, like, and trust. And they're not just going to come to us. They're going to come to us pre-positioned to buy. They may say, and I'm not going to get into many stories. I have countless stories with that with ourselves that are coming. It's like, I don't know exactly what your program is. I don't know exactly what the pricing is. As long as we make this work with budget, we're interested in working together. Let's talk some shop. The other thing is gaining a competitive foothold. Keep in mind, as I mentioned, we had, over 300, we have over 300 that have RSVP'd. We've got we're in triple digits in terms of who's live. We're going to have many, many, many hundreds that'll be watching this on demand, if not thousands. Keep in mind, there are 15,000, 20,000 plus security companies throughout the country. We're like the 1%ers, if that makes sense. So my point being here is, it's so important to gain that competitive foothold. We want to make sure that we're also reducing that future disruptions in terms of things in that regard. Here's the challenge though, right? If you take into consideration just 14 short years ago, there were only 150 of these, I won't say necessarily exclusively AI, but these automation, which have now evolved into like AI-based automation tools. And by the way, if you're wondering as to what CAGR, that is the compound annual growth rate. So if you take into consideration just 13, 14 short years, and by the way, this number is this is May of 2024. So 6 months ago, there were a whopping 14,106 of these mostly AI-based marketing / automation tools. That represents over a 9,300 growth over 13 years. And year over year, we had over 3,000 net addition of products since that of 2013 to that of 2014. It's going to be interesting to see when the report usually comes out in May to see as to where it is that we are. I would not be surprised if we're closer to 20,000 and there to be significantly more than that of 3,000 new groups. I'm going to do just a quick little check here. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. I just saw your note. I won't say your name, but no worries. Thank you so much. So with that said, let's talk just for a couple of minutes about some of the top AI tools. And remember, I just shared that there are, as of 6 months ago, there were 14,000. Clearly, there's no way we're going to discuss all of them. These are 7 tools, and I'm just going to point out a couple. Let's start off with MidJourney and Dolly. So these are going to be tools that Dolly is part of the paid version. I believe it may actually be part of the free version now. But Dolly is part of ChatGPT or that of OpenAI. And it allows you with both MidJourney, which is an independent company, and Dolly, it allows you to do a text-based prompt to be able to generate images. And keep in mind, I don't have it on here, but Sora is really taking MidJourney and Dolly to the next level. It's also part of OpenAI or ChatGPT, whereas you can do a text-based prompt and it'll come up with a few-second video. And I got to tell you, it's really, really impressive. The Sora is not necessarily 100% available right now. Dolly 3 has been available. MidJourney, keep in mind, these are not perfect. I'm sure that you all have seen images and just keep in mind, it's going to be interesting to see where we are 3, 6, 9, and 12 months from now in terms of these tools. But I will say this, there are slight fees for this. I would recommend for you to spend a few dollars and start testing them, seeing as to whether they can help you in terms of that of your, both professionally as well as even personally. Let's talk, I'm going to demo Descript here in just a moment, but I just will really quickly say about that of Descript is keep in mind, we're very blessed and fortunate here. I've got, I shouldn't say there are, I believe, 5 or 6 members of our team that are professional video editors. And sometimes they do use Descript. They use a lot of the Adobe, some of the professional tools that are way over my head. But Descript can be used by someone that has really little to no video editing experience. And as I mentioned, I'm going to demo this in just a moment. I'll talk about Perplexity, and then we'll wrap up with Anthropic, which is Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT, because I know that that's going to be really on everyone's minds here. So Perplexity, obviously, we're all familiar with Google. And as we know, Google continues to evolve. I've been in marketing since before Google was around, and I've seen all of the changes, like literally all of the changes. And Google continues to evolve, and they're adopting a lot of AI-based things. And you're noticing on certain key searches, You've got the AI-based results that are summarizing things, and keep in mind, because Google wants to keep us on Google, and to make sure that we as the users are finding what we're looking as being very helpful. What I will challenge each of you, if you're not familiar with Perplexity, there's a free and a paid version. To be honest, the paid version, don't get me wrong, will give you a lot more superpowers, so to speak, but the free version will give you a lot of great information. I use Perplexity daily, and I would say, whereas Google used to be 100%, I probably use Google a little more than I do Perplexity, but with certain tasks, Perplexity is my go-to in terms of research. So when you're looking to research particular topics, for example, if you want to research that of things on behalf of some of the end users that you work with, or basically any of the administrative, any of the HR related tasks, things in that regard, do a search. What I challenge you to do is, on one browser, use Perplexity, on the other browser, use Google, compare the results and see as to what you think works best for you. For me personally, once again, there are certain types of searches, which is more on that research phase. I'm actually more, it's the other way around. Perplexity is up here and Google's down here. And in some cases I use both just to make sure, but it's so that's the case. In terms of Gemini, so this is Google's Google. Anthropic is going to be Claude, and then obviously OpenAI is going to be ChatGPT. Obviously, these are, ChatGPT is amongst one of the most popular tools that whereas you do text-based prompts, and it can help you with many things from writing copy to that of doing research, to doing data analysis, to creating code, and the list goes on and on. I will say, do not think that these tools are only for writing copy. And by the way, and we're going to do a live demo of this in just a couple minutes, do not just say, write a blog about X and click, because we see those things a mile away. Obviously, Google can tell what is AI written as well. And you want to make sure you're putting a lot more effort into it. And we're going to actually give you a couple of examples of this, as I mentioned, when we go live into some of these demos here in just a sec. Okay, speaking of live demos, let me just actually get this up and running really quickly right here. Okay, so we're going to use, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen. I'm going to reshare it just so you can actually hear. Okay. Let's make sure I got the right one. Okay, perfect. In the chat, if you can verify that you can see Descript, I would greatly appreciate that. If you can, let's see here. Yes, perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Kaylee. I appreciate that. And Kevin and Ryan and Matt and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So I'm going to quickly play this video, and we should be able, if for some reason, I'll keep an eye on the chat. If for some reason you're not able to hear this, let me know and I'll reshare. But I'm going to quickly just play this video, give a quick little introduction, and I'm going to make some quick edits and then replay this. And you're going to see some magic before your eyes. This is the old adage of, let's go back to, let's try this one more time. Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Imagine you're in the middle of a video. You're doing a great job bringing the energy, sharing some great information. All of a sudden, or perhaps you forget what you're about to say, and you remember it all of a sudden, you keep going. But with the power of Descript, you can put yourself in a position so that you don't have to require an in-house editor to make these simple edits. Okay, so really quickly, was everyone able to hear that and see that? Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so really quickly, what I'm going to demo to you, and by the way, this is a paid tool. It's not super expensive relative to hiring a like a professional video editor, as an example. So for example, if you see here, this is like a text-based editor here. All I have to do is select that text, hit delete. I'm going to hit a couple of spaces here. And then let's start this video over again. Imagine you're in the middle of a video. You're doing a great job bringing the energy, sharing some great information. With the power of Descript, you can put yourself in a position so that you don't have to require an in-house editor to make these simple edits. Okay, so clearly we need to add a little bit of a pause. I'm not going to get into too much of the weeds there with that. Let me just show you one other quick thing here. And I'm going to quickly play this video and then okay. We all agree that video is one of the most important elements in marketing. And when it comes to video, engagement is really important. That's why it's so important to look directly into the camera, to which I'm doing now. Now, if you've got some important things to say, but it's really hard to get your thoughts here, because they're really hard for me to get my thoughts in here, and you need to be reading a script, which may be right here, how are you going to be able to engage while you're looking at the script? Well, with Descript's eye contact, with a simple click of a button, you can have your eyes shift over so you're engaging directly into the camera while you're reading a script. Okay, so I think I kind of butchered that one here. Let me show you the original really quick. I'm not going to go from the beginning. I'll start right here, and I'm going to show you some of the differences. That's why it's so important to look directly into the camera, to which I'm doing now. Now, if you've got some important things to say, but it's really hard to get your thoughts here, because they're really hard for me to get my thoughts in here, and you need to be reading a script. Okay, so keep in mind, you see where I'm looking, and with this click of a button, look at my eyes that just changed. I know it looks a little creepy. Well, it looks a little creepy to me looking at myself like that. But I'm more so looking at the camera. I'm going to just play this just for a sec. Which may be right here. How are you going to be able to engage while you're looking at the script? Well, with Descript's eye contact, so keep in mind, like with these tools that I'm just referencing, and by the way, thank you, Sarah, for saying wow about that before. Yeah, I got to tell you, these tools are amazing, and I'm just literally just scratching the surface. You know, keep in mind that that is, you know, those things are super, super important. Let me just quickly show that of this next. Let me show that of this next demo. And okay, let's do this. Okay, so if you can just confirm, if somebody in the chat can just confirm I'm sharing the right screen, which I have a YouTube video that's prompting the art of conversing with AI. Somebody in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome, thank you all. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, so what we're gonna do with this live demo really quickly, and this has a multitude of applications, is we're gonna use multiple tools to be able to summarize things. So like, for example, this is a webinar that I did last year, I believe. And what we did is, you know, I located the YouTube video, use this tool here, which is if you want to jot this down, Note GPT, which I will in the chat add this to everyone. There is a free version of this. Obviously, there's paid if you're doing things at volume, but if you're doing things at volume, then it's basically going to be super helpful and going to be well worth. So what you do here really quickly is what I'm looking to achieve, first of all, is I want to go from the YouTube video to being able to get the transcript of the YouTube video, which, you know, look, YouTube provides the transcript of the YouTube, but to be able to copy and paste it is really difficult, very manual process. But utilizing this tool, it generates the transcript so you can quickly, easily download it, and then ultimately go into Claude or like a ChatGPT, and you want to ask questions about it. Now I'm going to actually do this live. So once again, I'm not just to fast forward things. I entered the YouTube video link here, click the generate transcript. Within a few seconds, it basically provided me with the entire transcript. And you click this button here, and you can download the text with timestamp, without timestamp, or an SRT. For me, I wanted it without the timestamp, which is this right here, okay? So basically what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go into Claude. Keep in mind, Claude is gonna be similar to ChatGPT. I happen to have a paid version, but you don't need a paid version to do what it is that I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly just paste in a prompt, which is, you know, I'll upload a transcript from a recent webinar that I presented. I'll have some questions for you about it. Please analyze the webinar and provide an executive summary. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to copy this. And by the way, Shift Enter allows you to create extra lines. Hit go. And by the way, we are live, so hopefully Claude does not fail me now. But look how quick that is, by the way, in terms of analyzing things. Now, I'm going to ask my follow-up question here. While it's analyzing, we'll give it just a sec. And keep in mind, here is basically all the analysis in terms of the webinar itself. It's letting us know what's the title, a little bit about the presenter, how long it was, what are the key topics that were covered in terms of, the impact of SEO. And by the way, I think I actually used a different one of our videos, not the one that I just had up, but for this. But, keyword research fundamentals, et cetera, so on and so forth. So let's actually ask a follow-up, which is, what would you say are the best 3 takeaways from the webinar? So let's see as to what Claude has to say about this. Now, by the way, obviously, I know we're all curious to see as to what the answers are to this, but I want you to not necessarily just look at what are the answers, but I really want for you to think about how can you use these tools to help automate repetitive tasks that were not ever possible before because of what? I know you can't see me, but because of time. Now with these AI tools, it gives you superpowers to be able to do these. And as you invest time and resources to being able to do these things, it puts you in a position. I'm just curious as to what it says here. So basically, based on its analysis, it stated that methodical and steady marketing wins the race. Well, by the way, that is in fact something that I state on occasion. Local SEO is critical for security companies. If you agree with that statement, say yes in the chat. And I am going to say yes with all caps. And I know that clearly, being that, local SEO is critical for security companies. And then number 3, content must serve both users and search engines. If you think that statement is true, let's type true. And by the way, learning to ask curious questions is key. Yeah, Colin, 100%. It's interesting, and I hope you don't mind. I believe that Isabella is on today's webinar. And one of the things that really, one of the many qualities and characteristics when we're going through interview process, and sorry, Isabella, I hope you don't mind me sharing this story, is she referenced the fact that she's very curious. And I'll tell you what, to me, curiosity is such an important trait for all of us, to always be curious and learning new things and things in that regard. For those of you that believe content must serve both end users and search engines, if you think that's true, type true in that of the chat. I believe it's true. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. And a lot of you are doing host and panelists. Appreciate that. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Okay, so quick question here is asked, and let me see if I can stay here. Is Claude based on another AI model? I am going to, by the way, use ChatGPT. You'll see here ChatGPT here in just a moment. We are going to use that ChatGPT and Claude, as well as Gronk from not Twitter, but from X, as well as Gemini from Google. These all have a lot of similarities. I personally have my favorites, and I use certain things for certain things, and I go back and forth between all of these and things in that regard, but they are very, very similar. Okay, so Rod says, true, this looks amazing, but it could lead to an abundance of deep fake videos with potential. No, you know what, Rod, you're very, very, first of all, we can only control the individual that's in the mirror. And frankly, there are ways for us to be responsible and for us not to be responsible with these things. We can't control others. And this is also why, you know what, I'm not going to even go down that. I agree with you, Rod, in terms of what you stated. So awesome. Thank you all very, very much. Okay, let me just quickly, okay, so we are going to go back to slides just for a bit, and then I have some more demos here in just a sec. Okay, so I know we're running a little behind with time, so I'm gonna zip through them because I feel like everyone wants to see these demos versus the slides. The slides are really, really important, so I'm gonna zip through these. So in terms of mastering the money makers, it's so important to focus on tools that are going to have direct impact value. Remember, as of 6 months ago, 14,000 plus, there is no way that any of us can really focus on all of these. I'll tell you what, in terms of like a couple things that can really help in terms of directly impacting revenue is lead generation and scoring, automated outreach in terms of like email, text messaging, etc., and then getting insights on that of your market and your audience. I call out a few of these groups here: Salesforce, HubSpot, I'm fairly for certain most of you know about these, but the reason why I bring these to the table is these are tools that have AI elements to them that they've recently adopted or added to this. And keep in mind, I want to just really quickly talk about lead scoring. From the lead scoring perspective, keep in mind that there are ways to be able to score the users within your CRM. Not all the CRMs have this, but many of the CRMs have this. For example, once you identify a lead because they filled out a form on your site, you'll be able to know every single time they went to your website and you scored them. I'm making these numbers up with a 2. They fill out a form, maybe you give them a 10. They attend a webinar, you give them a 5, et cetera, et cetera. My point being here is, let's say you've got 1,000 leads in your database and you've got 1 or 2 members of your sales team. Instead of just randomly dialing for dollars, be smarter about who it is that you're going to be dialing and who you're reaching out to, because we want to make sure that your sales team is focusing their efforts, having quality conversations as opposed to chasing. And don't get me wrong, it is so critically important to make sure prospecting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is part of your sales team's, part of their daily routine. In terms of Zoom info, and keep in mind, there are many of these. They can provide some incredibly important insights in terms of your audience and insights and things in that regard. I'm going to get to the chat here in just a sec. In terms of lead gen, we want to make sure that we're focused on that of predictive analytics. I'll just quickly talk about chatbots. I'm not going to go through a demo, although there is going to be some feedback on this on the free resource guide. But keep in mind, with that of the chatbots, it allows for you to engage with that of users 24/7 instantly. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to mislead that of the users and let them, to have them feel like it's not a chatbot, like it's not AI, because keep in mind, we as a society are becoming more and more accustomed to this. And so remember, it's that instant gratification that we're looking for. And it, once again, it can filter out to, to help set appointments or for customer service and things in that regard. I'll talk about this just a little bit more in just a sec. We talked a little bit about the AI-based copywriting tools. I'm going to actually do a live demo of this in just a couple of minutes. Also, providing workflows or sequences so that instead of you doing things manually, you can have things automated and things in that regard. In terms of segmentation, and I talked about that of the Zoom info just a couple minutes ago, but it's not just that. On your website, when you have some of these tools on your website and with your CRM, as individuals are engaging with certain pages of your site or they are filling out particular forms, that allows them to get segmented into specific databases so that you have lead or workflows of automatic triggers that are happening. Some of these things, by the way, are 102, 103, 104, meaning these are not the basic level of marketing, but these are things that can help with. Obviously, there are many tools that can help with that of data visualizations. And this is specifically where that of the CRMs, as I mentioned, I only brought up 2, but there are many, 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 many of these that will help with that. What I will say, and I'm not going to call anyone out in terms of some of the third-party tools, but what I will say is I am guilty of having shiny object syndrome. What I will say to each and every single one of you, do not have shiny object syndrome. Try out 1 or 2, get a little better, expand and scale, and then move from there. But what I will say is you want to focus on things that are going to really help with your efficiency. Obviously, I'm biased with marketing, but from the sales and from the ops, things that will help with that. The other things in terms of some of the red flags to keep into consideration is some of the overhyped software that's like, hey, this software can do everything, but it really lacks focus. Like, keep in mind, remember, I used the analogy a little earlier about what's important to that of the that of the dealerships versus that of healthcare is very, very different. In terms of these tools, we want to make sure you're having tools that are specifically built to help with certain tasks. Some of these platforms that are really complex and that have a huge learning curve, stay away from them. Things that have a lack of real use cases, stay away from those things. In terms of getting the inside track, look at that of groups like ourselves. And by the way, once again, as a reminder, if any of you would like to get into a lot more depth into these tools, schedule a time with me. Maybe perhaps either Isabella or Zoe, you can put a link in the chat to schedule an appointment with me, perhaps like the Calendly link. If anybody would like to talk about this stuff more in depth at your earliest, that would be great to everyone. I'd appreciate that. Just in case anyone would like to discuss these things more in detail. Keep in mind, remember, we're not going to live long enough ourselves to make all of these experiences and all these mistakes ourselves. So learn from others' wins and others' mistakes. Keep in mind, we want to be focused on things that are going to have daily applications. I mean, these tools, some of these tools that I'm referencing, I'm in them daily and they help. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about some of these things in just a sec. But keep in mind, the predictive element from your CRM allows you to spot prospects within that of your CRM. We talked about that of chatbots. What I will share really quickly is with the chatbots, and you can use tools like, let's say, Intercom. You can use tools like Drift. And by the way, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other tools. Some of them have very low cost. Some of these have a little bit of a higher cost. But one of the ways to set these up is I would say this. As you are meeting with your technicians, for example, as you're meeting with your sales team, for example, record those meetings. Use a transcription service. I'm going to demo Read.ai here in just a couple of minutes. But even on your phone, record the session so that you can get a transcription of that. That can be uploaded to that of these chatbots to help feed it frequently asked questions. Like, what are the questions that your customers are asking? Because I know if you're staring at a blank screen, it puts you in a tough situation. But if you have a good starting off point, that really helps you so that you can edit things and things in that regard. But as you feed information in these chatbots, it can help you. And by the way, remember, the chatbots are not perfect. You've got to monitor them. I know that there were some things, I forget the name of the group, but there's some viral chatbot stuff that, not viral in a good way, that happened, I think, the other day. So keep in mind, remember, don't try and use all these things at one time, but there will be a day whereas every single security website, or it's going to be the, more of the, not the given, but more of the rule as opposed to the exception. And then I've already talked about that of the sales intelligence. In terms of the typical journey, when you talk about the buyer's funnel and things in that regard, we want to make sure that you're using all these tools to really help, whether you're at the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, or the bottom of the funnel. And I will say this, consistency is key. And by the way, I purposely am zipping through this because I want to get to some more demos here. Keep in mind, with that of scheduling as an example, like scheduling appointments and things in that regard, like Motion and like Reclaim.ai, Read.ai, there are many tools that have AI-based calendar integrations. These should not necessarily replace human, but this should be helpful to augment that of human. Keep in mind, Calendly as an example does not have AI, but I do want to reference this. Like, for example, instead of going back and forth, use one of these tools. Like, one of the benefits to Motion and Reclaim.ai is it gets to know your calendar and it suggests times that it believes that you will excel and do very well with that of your prospective individuals you're going to be having appointments with. Whereas like Calendly, it will integrate with that of your, but my point being here is do not do these things manually. Like I used to, my team and I, we used to basically go back and forth via email and stating, okay, when are you available? When are you available? When are you available? And then you've got multiple parties. It's like 10 emails later, 2 weeks later, it's like the meeting doesn't happen. It's just not an effective use of your time. Because here's the thing, not just for this, but we want to make sure that we're reducing friction. By the way, let me do a quick little temperature check here. If anybody is, let's see here. Awesome. I see here, David says, I found that Claude AI produces language that's more like spoken language in ChatGPT. I usually use both. Yeah, David, I do the same. I will say, we don't use ZoomInfo, Jerry, but thank you for asking. We do have many customers that do. It's one of the more expensive tools that's out there, but it does give great data. ZoomInfo has a number of additional add-ons. I would use it more for its data and for its data analysis as opposed to having it do your marketing for you, not just for us to do your marketing, but that's what I would recommend. Let's see here. Okay, got it. Let me keep going. In terms of that, of some of the marketing magic, keep in mind, we want to make sure that we're creating compelling content. And we're going to talk, I'm going to go through, I think, ChatGPT, I think, with this in just a sec. But like, here's a couple of tools. In addition to this, obviously, Claude, as well as Google's Gemini, are tools that can help with this as well. But these are all tools that can help you with creating copy. But once again, I caution you, do not just say, write a blog about X, create a social post about this, create web page copy for this. Because I'm telling you, it is not, it's almost going to be worse for you. It is not going to produce the results that you're looking for. You've already seen, even just with the 1 or 2 prompts that I've done, you probably, hopefully there's been a little bit of a learning, and not just literally for what I was looking for, but to really help in terms of, but to really help with things in that regard. So let me just quickly go through this, and I'm going to do another live demo, and then I've got another set of live demos here in just a sec. So, keep in mind, these things can help with that of blogs, articles, social posts, email campaigns, things in this regard. But once again, I just caution against write a X because you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And I know you all, I know we're all shaking our head together. I know you can only see me, but I know we'd all be shaking our head together when we say, I see and I can smell that AI from a mile away. And you don't want to be one of those groups. So like, for example, you take into consideration, like researching what are some of the pain points of this target end user that you're looking for? What are, what are some of those things? What's the tone? What's the length? What is the, what are some of the ROI things? And when I'll actually state things a little different. What is the, ROSI? What's the return on security investment? Like as an example, like with a video monitoring in terms of possibly, augmenting guards as an example. So let's do another quick demo. And now we are going to use, actually, we're going to use Claude again for this. So with this particular one, I'll read this to you really quick. And once again, so you're a B2B copywriting expert with an emphasis on having a deep knowledge of customers for security integrators that deploy integrated security, access, video surveillance, and fire alarm systems for mid to large commercial end users. I'd like for you to help me create 8 to 12 topical authority blog topics that will position our company, XYZ Security, a leading security integrator in the Los Angeles market. Please create a list of these blog topics and a one-sentence description for each. These will be targeting small to mid-sized healthcare facilities, including doctors' offices, dentists, nursing homes, and related types of businesses. So before I hit submit, I want you to really think about this and I want you to think about the principle. Like number one, I'm stating who Claude, and by the way, this could be done in ChatGPT as well, or Gemini or Gronk, but I'm letting it know how it should act, right? And I'm describing what its qualities and characteristics. Who am I writing this for? I'm writing this for an integrator, and I'm using a fictitious group. Maybe there is a XYZ Security, but I'm using a fictitious group. I'm letting it know that I'm a local security integrator. I let it know the services that I provide, even though it should know. I'm extra emphasizing on this, and then I'm asking it specifically, what do I want it to do? I'm looking for blog topics. Plus, I want a one-sentence description. And by the way, I also stated topical authority. Yeah, here we go. I stated 8 to 12 topical authority blog topics. I'm also letting it know who are these blog topics for, and I'm describing them. And I also asked for a one-sentence description. So you'll take into consideration, by the way, I did this morning, so usually I'm a lot more in-depth, but I think you get my way of thinking. Hopefully this helps and makes sense. So let's click this and let's see as to how quickly it's going to give us some feedback. Normally, I would go back and forth and I would break this up a little bit. I would ask it other things, but let's just take, and we're not going to read through all of these. We're not going to read through all of these, but let's just read through like the first two. So we look at these first two. This title is HIPAA Compliance Through Integrated Security. What healthcare facilities need to know, right? That's the topic. In terms of a little bit of a descriptor about the actual, it's going to be a comprehensive guide explaining how modern security systems support HIPAA compliance requirements while protecting patient data and physical assets. Number two is access control best practices for multi-provider medical office buildings. Explore solutions for managing complex access needs across different medical practices, staff shifts, visiting professionals while maintaining security. Now, by the way, if I were just to say, as an example, you know what? I know we're up against time, so I'm not going to do that, but on your own, do a test. Write a, I'm a security integrator, write a blog for that of commercial end users, and insert your, my point being here is you're going to get a lot less in depth. You're not going to get what you're looking for, because to me, if I were to keep going through this, I would be prompting to get an outline, and then I would be prompting to write section by section. I would be analyzing it. It's almost as if this tool is taking almost the same amount of time as if I was writing this from scratch. It's not the case, obviously, but it puts you in that position. Okay. Let me quickly go back to slides, and I have 2 more demos, and we're about to wrap up here in just a couple minutes. And keep in mind, we have that of the reference guide here in just a sec as well. Okay, so I'm going to zip through these slides really quickly. Keep in mind, in terms of from the ops perspective, keep in mind these tools go beyond that of marketing, and it's all a matter of freeing up that of your time. Keep in mind, we talked about chatbots from the project management integration. There's things that can help automate certain task creation, things in that regard. And a lot of these project management software and tools will really be helpful for that. In terms of and I'm going to demo this in just a sec, but like an internal knowledge base, in terms of, let's just say you're recording meetings or things in that regard, you can create SOPs, you can create all these various things, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to demo this in just a sec. Keep in mind, we've already talked about identifying that a repetitive task and then performing that. Let's actually quickly go into some more live demos. So now we are going to do, okay. So really quickly, by the way, this one is a really cool one. And by the way, I would imagine a few of you have gotten some calls from the Isabella. And by the way, thank you, Isabella, for allowing me to use this. So this is a tool called Read.ai. And Read.ai will not only, for those of you that have meetings with me, you'll see that it says David's note taker. So this is the back end and the data that I get from this. So number one, it records it so I can actually watch the entire recording. I can watch highlights or I can watch the trailer. It also gives me a summary of the meeting. I'm not going to read through this, but it provides a summary of the meeting. It has chapters of the meeting. It has action items. It has what are some of the key questions. When I say action items, what are some of the notes and things in that regard? Some of the other things that it does is it gives you the entire transcript of the entire discussion, right? It gets into a deep dive in terms of letting us know, okay, who did most of the talking, believe it or not. Sorry, Isabella. Apparently I did most of the talking in this discussion. The participation score engagement thing, I'm not going to read through all of these, but it gives you grades in terms of data and analysis from all of these KPIs in terms of sentiment, charisma, a bias, whether the microphone's off, whether the camera's off, things in this regard. And also there are certain highlights in terms of, when certain questions are asked, how is the sentiment of that? Things in this regard. From the coaching perspective, and by the way, these tools are continued to improve and make, this is a paid tool, by the way. It's not super expensive, but I use this daily many, many, many times. This is for me, one of the must-haves. But it lets me know what's the talking pace of the entire discussion. Some of the non-inclusive terms, not going to get too much detail into this, and things in this regard. So let me actually show you a real live application as to how we can use this in conjunction with other tools. Because by the way, keep in mind, these tools, and I know we're running up against time. I'm going to, these two demos, and I have that tool for you. So I'm going to try and get through this really quickly. But let's actually go now into that of Claude again. And I'm going to enter this prompt. So create an outline for an SOP on an SOP for the updated sales forecasting based on a transcript from a recent sales meeting. By the way, usually I'd be a little more detailed in this, but this is going to do the trick. And then what I'm going to do is, this is the transcript right here between Isabella and myself. I'm going to copy this, paste this here. And once again, normally I would be a little more extensive than this. And I'm not going to go through this entire thing. And we're going to give this just a sec, but see how quickly this is doing this. It's number one, what is the purpose? What is the, talking about the purpose, talking about pipeline structure. We discussed that of updating our CRM to have more, let's call it aspects of the sales process, which is going to help make Isabella's life a lot easier and things in that regard. And I don't mean to, this is not about us. And keep in mind, this could be about anything. I'm using this as an example for us. But remember, your imagination is what's going to limit you in terms of how you can utilize that of these tools. Okay, so I'm going to use one more ops-based example here. So I've had a number of times where we've had customers that have stated, okay, I'm going to send you my email database, but I have it from 2 or 3 different sources. The spreadsheets themselves are going to be very different. I can't manually do this. Like, how can we work? And where I'm going with this is, I am going to just paste. So first of all, what I did was, you're going to see here, there are 2 spreadsheets. Obviously, this is fictitious data, and these are simple, easy spreadsheets. with that of one spreadsheet has the customer name, the email address, the city, the other one has email address, phone number, and purchase history. Obviously, like the record locator or the commonality is going to be the email address. So what we're trying to do is merge these two spreadsheets. But imagine you've got tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers, or you've got just multiple databases. And remember, your imagination is the limit here. I'm going to paste this. I'm going to paste this prompt here. So I've uploaded two spreadsheets with customer data. I need you to merge them based on email addresses. Here's what I need. Number one, merge the two data sets using email address as the common field, fill in missing data where possible, and note any mismatches. Create a new column called customer segment based on the purchase history. High value customer for 4 more businesses, low engagement customer for fewer than 4 purchases, and then show the final unified data set ready for analysis. So let's see how quick this goes. And by the way, remember, we're doing this real time. And I know we'd like for this to be done already, but within just a couple more seconds, this is going to give us what we're looking for. And obviously, when you have bigger data sets, it may take a few more moments. But imagine trying to do this manually. Like, frankly, it just would not get done. And of course, ChatGPT is giving me a hard time because we're all live. Okay, here we go. So that was a little longer than what I would have anticipated. Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll give this just a sec here. I did test this early and it did work. So I appreciate everyone's patience. And I know we're a minute overboard, but we're going to be wrapped up here in just a second. Okay. So pardon that taking a little longer than anticipated, but basically we now have that of a unified customer data set. So there's a question from an anonymous attendee. What do you use to create a transcript of your meetings? So I use Read.ai. That's READ.ai is what I use. Okay, so let's go back to the slides, and we're just about to wrap up here in about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to just skip through that of these slides really quickly. Obviously, when you watch this on replay, you can take a look at these a little bit more in detail. The big thing that I'm going to tell you here is you cannot over-rely on AI. It requires that human expertise and oversight. We want to make sure that you are constantly evaluating things and start simple. Don't remember, Rome was not built in one day. What I will say here, and I wanted to get to this, so I wanted to get to this and that of the next slide, is we have a free 2025 AI tools for security pros. And this, I believe, is like 12, 13, 14 pages. I'm going to leave this up for another 5-10 seconds. And I just want to announce our next webinar. Once again, I really, really appreciate everyone being here. I know some of you may have to be running here in just a sec. I'm going to just go to this last slide here. So our next discussion or our next webinar masterclass is February 25th, Tuesday, February 25th at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. Please secure your spot here. We're going to be doing a masterclass on email marketing and the best case strategies for that of security industry for 2025. So I'll keep that up for another 5 seconds. And then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If anyone, I know that we're over time by just a sec, but if anyone has any questions or any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, I would love to, okay. So I know someone, okay, so, yes, Kalia said, is there a way to have this email? We can absolutely have that email to you. That's not a problem. Overtime is okay. This was very interesting. I won't say your name because the hosted panels, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Just looking at this. I think we're going to wrap up with that so we can get you all back on your day. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Alula for sponsoring today's webinar. Thank you to the team for helping to put this together and help make this possible. Thank you to each and every single one of you. Most of you actually stayed until the end. And oh my goodness, 10 out of 10. I'm not going to say your name, but that means a lot coming from you. Wow. Thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing, for those of you that'll be in Florida, the IAF, look forward to seeing you. Obviously, most of us, if not all of us, are going to be together at ISC West. I'd love to have a coffee or a cocktail of when we get together there. But Yeah, thank you all. I really, wow. I'm not going to read everything, but like all of these chats, it means a lot. Your feedback, thank you very much. If we can help, let us know. Otherwise, until next time, make it a great day, and thank you all very much.